Hey, it's time for TV Skywriter. Welcome to TV Skywriter. Patricia A. Murray, your host. TV Skywriter is kind of like an offshoot of the Durham Skywriter. That's Durham's online community paper. So this is a very exciting day for me. I've been dying to talk to city and county employees. It's been difficult because Google Plus, which I had been using, cannot be accessed ordinarily through the governmental computers. They have to download an app. So we're trying Blab. So my guest today is Laura Webb Smith. Let me get the title right. Public Education Coordinator with the City of Durham's Department of Public Works. And you are in the area of stormwater services. Did I get that right?
That's right. It's a mouthful.
Awesome. Now let's get real basic. First tell us, in fact, a gentleman named Carlton was on before you came on, and he was wondering what stormwater services is. And I realized I need to know that too.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a basic one, but stormwater, as you can imagine, is the runoff that happens when we get a rainstorm. And back in the day when we had lots of forests and trees and bushes to soak in that rainwater, you didn't need departments in the city to handle stormwater. But as we build up our cities and get more hard surfaces like streets and driveways and buildings where that water can't soak in, then you're left with several stormwater runoff issues, including the actual water and where it goes and where it's headed, and the pollution that water picks up along the way. The city is regulated under the Clean Water Act to try to keep that water as clean as possible as it leaves our streets and goes to our creeks and lakes, which become drinking water and, of course, serve as habitat for fish and wildlife.
Now, I know that there's a particular mall in Chapel Hill. Every time it rains really hard, it floods. And in fact, when I first moved here, Pettigrew used to flood all the time during rainstorms. So does the city of Durham try to fix such problems? I don't know how they'd fix it, but are there ways to fix areas that they know flood all the time?
We do deal with flooding, and we have big infrastructure projects where we have to repair or replace pipes and systems that are within the city right of way. If they're on private property, of course, they're the property owner's responsibility. But you got to think when cities like Durham were developed, sometimes pipes were undersized for what's needed now. So, we have several places where there's just too much water trying to go downhill, down the drains, and to the creeks at one time.
When I first moved here, again, when we bought this house, the house I'm in now, the backyard was it was a swamp. It was always, every time it rained, I couldn't even go outside. The mosquitoes were that bad. It was like living in the bayou or something. And the city of Durham actually dug up my neighbor's yard and my yard. They said just what you said, that the pipes were too small. And all the runoff from the street somehow ended up in my yard. So the city of Durham, it was free. I was really happy about this. They dug up our yards and put these giant pipes in there and fixed the problem. So I guess that was expensive for the city, free for me, and I really appreciate that. So you must have done that on Pettigrew, because I noticed Pettigrew no longer floods.
So we have a whole infrastructure group, and that's what they look at. They deal with drainage complaints from citizens. They work with property owners. They answer floodplain questions. They manage the projects that are, in the right of way, actually repairing the pipes. I'm actually in the water quality side of stormwater. So I work with the folks who go out and try to identify pollution sources and eliminate them so that our water is clean as possible. And I also work with a group that does a lot of planning to try and figure out what projects are going to be best, like bigger projects like building constructed wetlands or putting in larger best management practices that are going to help clean our stormwater on its way to the lakes and rivers.
Okay, so you do suggest then that people with flooding problems, should they call Durham One Call at 560-1200, or should they call your department?
That's always a great starting point. And the One Call folks will will connect them to the right people, which are in my department.
Okay. So let's talk about Creek Week. That's this week, right?
It is this week. It started Saturday this past weekend, and we had a killer turnout for several cleanups. Probably 150 people were out on Saturday at about 6 locations in Durham, cleaning trash and litter out of the creeks so that it doesn't make its way to our drinking water lakes, and then it could make its way all the way to the ocean and become marine debris that a turtle decides to eat for lunch. So if we stop it here before it gets that far, then we're not only helping our local waterways, but we're helping the water all the way down the line.
Nice. I want to backtrack and ask a super basic question. I'm from Chicago, and a friend of mine kept laughing at me. I kept referring to creeks as rivers. I mean, in Chicago, you either have Lake Michigan or the Chicago River. That's it.
Right.
So what is a creek? Is that just a small river?
Yeah, it is. It's just a small river that's feeding into a larger river. We only have 2 or 3 in Durham County. Streams can kind of cover everything. Streams that rise to the title of river. Eno River is one that's very familiar to people because we have such a large and wonderful state park, and people are able to see and access that river. Most of the creeks that run through Durham, especially urban Durham, are small. They're sometimes underground, so people don't even know they're there. Durham Central Park is a fantastic example. People go there. You know, I saw you at the food truck rodeo Sunday. You know, thousands of people were there. They had no idea they were standing on top of LRB Creek, because these
I didn't
creeks
know
run
until this moment. Really?
Yeah. The creeks run all through town. Sometimes they're above ground, sometimes they're piped, but they all end up above ground, and they all end up flowing to, for the most part, 2 major lakes, Falls Lake and Jordan Lake.
Wow. So that kind of scares me a little bit, because people are pretty generous with their lawn, the chemicals they put on their lawns. Does that affect the quality of the water we're drinking?
Absolutely. I like to tell people stormwater really starts in your own backyard, because that runoff is going to your local street in your neighborhood, down the storm drain, and straight out to the creeks and then the lakes. And that's why we have algae issues. So if you drive over Falls or Jordan Lake late summer, you may have noticed like kind of a green slime covering. Well, that's algae that's fed by nutrients that we like to put on our lawn. So Creek Week is a great example of an opportunity to learn more about that. And we actually have a couple of different tours walking tours, where you can go out and see practices that people have put in their own yards or small businesses that help with this exact issue. So for instance, you can build a rain garden that captures the runoff water from your roof and driveway, and it filters that water through native plants and things that are beautiful and healthy for the environment. And it keeps that stormwater filled with nutrients out of our streams and lakes and rivers.
Okay. Do you also tell people not to use so many chemicals? Because
Yes.
I was taught it is best to improve the quality of your soil with compost, or just to, maybe if you have the money, to purchase nice clean soil to plant in, and maybe use raised beds to curb runoff. It's better than adding chemicals every spring, right?
Not necessarily. So if you purchase soil, you're bringing in something that you don't know what you've got. You're going to be bringing in a lot of weed seeds, and all soil needs nutrients. So you're still going to have to add nutrients. We like people to work with the native soils, and around here they are clay rich, and so they can be challenging to grow things in. You can add compost and things that will improve the texture of the soil and add some nutrients, but the key is test your soil. You can pick up soil test kits from 721 Foster Street. It's right there by the farmer's market. And you send it in to the state, and they tell you what nutrients your soil needs, so that you're not adding too much of something that's going to end up in the water.
I appreciate you correcting me. Okay. But I was saying, though, now, because clay soil is so, with my prodigious weight, sometimes I try to dig a hole in my yard. I'm bouncing off the soil with my shovel. I mean, sometimes it's impossible. You need a pickaxe. I never had to own a pickaxe until I moved to North Carolina. But I discovered that the best way is to plant if you're planting a tree or whatever, to actually make a mound, plant the tree on the mound, and then mound the dirt around it and make it a raised bed. Because otherwise, I just see people trying to improve this clay soil with all kinds of inappropriate stuff like peat moss and just basically messing up their soil.
Yeah, don't add peat moss, because peat moss holds water, and that's what our clay soil does. So you want to add compost that you either make yourself or buy. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about Creek Week. I know that you had the volunteers to turn out, and they were cleaning up the creeks, dredging up all kinds of like discarded items, and I guess where'd all the stuff go? To the Club Boulevard dump or what?
So yeah, we send city and county personnel to come around and collect the trash that our volunteers have pulled out of the creek. And then it ends up in the landfill, which is a better place for it than in the creeks. Our volunteers do often separate out the recyclables, so hopefully some of it can get recovered. But that's where it ends up. And litter cleanups are really at the heart of Creek Week. That's kind of why we started Creek Week 8 years ago, but it's grown so much. We have about 20 organizations that help plan and put on events during the week. All things from wastewater treatment plant tours to these walking tours that I mentioned, where you can see how people have dealt with stormwater in their own yards, to canoeing trips. And then it ends on Saturday with a grand celebration in Forest Hills Park, where we're going to have several activities, including a workshop with Pierce Freelon, who is a local. Yeah. I love how he asked me to describe his project. He said, describe me as a hip hop artist, dad, and professor. I'm not sure I got the order right, but he'll be leading a beats workshop and making art out of upcycled litter. So that'll be a lot of fun. And we'll have some other hands-on nature activities happening as well.
That sounds like a lot of fun. And I do want to thank someone, if I say this right, Rise and Sci, for information on soil testing in Durham, because Durham County is one of the very few counties in North Carolina where you can have your soil tested for free at the Durham County Cooperative Extension on Foster Street. So, yeah.
Most of the year. So from November through March, it's the busy season, and they charge $4 per sample. The rest of the year, it's free.
Okay, it's good to know. Okay, when I first moved here, they didn't charge at all, but it's good to know.
Yeah, the charge just started a couple of years ago, and that's because all the farmers are trying to get their soil tests in during the winter.
Yeah, I would want they need to take care of their stuff. I mean, farming is a lot more important than my little zinnias and dahlias. So as I'd like to ask you, now I did accompany a group a few years ago. They were cleaning up one of the creeks. I don't remember which park we were in, but they actually found a washing machine. So I'm wondering, what's the craziest thing that volunteers are pulling out of these creeks?
Oh, wow. So every year it's different. This year, one of the ironic things on Saturday was the group pulled out a no dumping sign as part of the litter.
Ironic.
So you get funny stuff like that. Tons of balls, because they roll down the storm drains in the neighborhoods.
Oh, wow.
So we get soccer balls, and one group that was near one of the golf courses said they got like 20 golf balls on Saturday, and most of them are good, so they'll give them away. And
all week. Creek Week 16. Okay, so if she can't join us, she's just letting us know that we can get more information at durhamcreekweek.org and hashtag Creek Week 16. And also going on today, I already missed the South Durham wastewater plant tour at 10 o'clock, but let's see, what time is it? Okay, so at 1:30, there's going to be the Camden Avenue cleanup. That's parallel to the Ellaby Creek, and you'll be meeting at the fire department office on Club Boulevard. I think it's like 13. Let's see if let's try it again. And then tomorrow there's going to be the brown water treatment plant tour, and that involves our drinking water.
Okay, so I signed back on with my laptop, which means we won't get video, but at least we get audio.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That's fine. So, yeah. I mean, there are several people on Blab that, for some reason, maybe they have bandwidth problems or whatever, and they're audio only. So that's fine. That's fine. So we were talking about strange and crazy things. Now, Roxanne lives in Winston-Salem. And so, Roxanne, you had a question. Go ahead and ask that.
Well, I go over the Dan River every time I go to see my grandma. And I know about Blues Creek. I mean, I always say Blues Creek. Why? But the Duke Power having a problem leaking, I forgot what it was, but so much into the Dan River. Do you know?
So there was an issue with coal ash in the Dan River related to Duke Power, and Duke Power has been working with the state of North Carolina in the Department of Environmental Quality to address that. But that's all I can say because that's not within my jurisdiction or expertise. Okay. There's tons of news articles on it if you want to Google it.
Well, I didn't know if y'all would have anything to help with it because of the helping, stormwater, everything you do that you were talking about in Durham. I thought, wow, maybe y'all would help with them, help clean up all the water. Because, man, driving over the Dan River, gosh, it looked awful.
Really? So it's a good point because watersheds don't recognize borders of cities or counties or towns or states. So we do often have to work with neighboring jurisdictions to address whether it's water pollution issues or water supply. And we have several, mechanisms set up to do that. But that's not one we've dealt very directly with within the city of Durham.
Is there such a thing as a North Carolina State of Water Quality Services?
There's a Department of Environmental Quality, and they have a division of water resources that deals with water issues. And they also have a land division that deals with some of the stormwater issues. So yeah, we have state folks on the job, although, they've lost a lot of positions in the last few years. So they're stretched for time and ability to enforce the laws that are already on the books.
Gosh.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. So I'm assuming that Laura's time is kind of curtailed because she's a city employee. She needs to get back to work. So what I wanted, if you don't mind, I'd like to see, Laura, if you could tell us of a few upcoming events. I did mention the Camden Avenue cleanup today, 1:30 to 4:30. You meet at the fire department office on Club Boulevard, 1308 East Club Boulevard. And there's going to be a frog watch at Sandy Creek. That should be interesting. And that's this evening around 8, I believe. And what else is happening this week that you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah, the frog watch is going to be a lot of fun tonight. Also tonight, Uncle Mattio's Pizza is doing a benefit. So 10% of the proceeds go to Creek Week. Let's see, tomorrow there's a forestry hike at 10 o'clock in the morning with a couple of our rangers from the North Carolina Forest Service. And I mentioned the backyard BMP tours. We have one tomorrow afternoon and then one Friday afternoon. And one Friday afternoon ends at Full Steam Brewery at happy hour. So that one should be a lot of fun. That's led by one of our local watershed groups.
You said BMP tour. What is BMP?
So BMP is just an abbreviation we use for best management practice. And in this case, our stormwater BMPs are things like rain gardens or putting in a giant rain barrel to catch the stormwater and let it out slowly and water your plants with it. So those are the kind of things you'll see on those tours.
Okay. And then Saturday is the last day. So is there going to be a creek cleanup on Saturday as well, or is that just the celebration day?
There are 3 cleanups that morning, 4. One at the Eno River, one at Sandy Creek Park, Forest Hills Park, and the Moore Head neighborhood. So those are all in the morning around 9 a.m. So you can go clean up, go home, take a quick shower, and then come back out to Forest Hills Park for the fun celebration and learning part. And that'll be very family friendly. It'll be for all ages.
Nice.
Now, is all of this in partnership with Keep Durham Beautiful? It seems that they're involved in some way.
Yes, Keep Durham Beautiful is our major partner. They host our website and they're our fiscal sponsor. So they work very closely with us to host these various community organizations that are interested in putting on Creek Week. So the city and Keep Durham Beautiful support it and provide the kind of structure for it, but it's a really grassroots kind of thing because individual neighborhoods or watershed groups or small organizations or businesses can get involved and suggest sites for cleanups or host activities. And so everyone comes to the table and it's a real community effort to clean up and learn more about our creeks.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Laura Webb Smith. Are you able to stay and answer any questions? Because I can end the recording and then we can kind of hang out for a few minutes.
Sure. I've got about 5 more minutes.
Okay, great. So I'll leave it running for 5 more minutes. So anyone else have questions that you want to ask on the side, or if you'd like to join us?
Well, who could I talk to do something like that in Winston? I mean, just go to the water.
Has it? Actually. Winston has it. Go to ForsythCreekWeek.org, and you haven't missed it yet because they're having theirs in a week or 2.
Okay, because wow, yeah, that might be something good to get some high schools involved with, because they have to do so many volunteer work every year to get some credits before they graduate.
That would be fun.
So that might be something they can do.
The Winston-Salem Stormwater Department there similarly partnered with other organizations in the area to bring Creek Week to your area. They saw what we had done in Durham and they liked it. Yeah. So they copied it, which is very flattering.
Right. Hey, that's great.
Is there an age limit? I can't imagine they want 8-year-olds going up to their waists in water, dragging out washing machines.
Well, the thing about cleanups is you really work at your own level. So I've taken my kids, my kids are very young. I've taken them to cleanups, and you might not be climbing down the steepest bank with your little kids, but you could stay on the trail or up on the drier, higher land, and there's plenty for them to do as well. So it really is for all ages.
Oh, that's good. So what do you suggest that they bring? Gloves? Should they wear waterproof boots or?
We provide gloves and bags and trash pickers. Provide some boots on request, but it's great if you have boots. If not, just a pair of old tennis shoes that you don't mind getting wet and dirty, and then long pants.
Oh, definitely long pants and closed-toed shoes. If you're not going to wear waterproof shoes, at least wear closed toe. I would think you don't want to cut your toes with any metal that you might encounter. So, and again, there's 4 going on this Saturday. So I'm guessing, what was that? DurhamCreekWeek.org for all the details, and follow you at #CreekWeek16.
Cool. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Laura Webb Smith. So I'll end the recording now, and you can stick around, and we can hang out for a little bit of time and kibitz among all of us. Jenny's going to join us from Hillsborough. Before we leave, let's bring in Jenny. Come on, Jenny, you can do it. Jenny, hey.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Nice to see you.
Nice to see. This is my first time actually being on a blab as opposed to just watching or listening one. So, hey.
Welcome.
I hope I'm looking at the right camera.
Yay.
Unfortunately, I missed quite a bit of the conversation about the upcoming Creek Week because my connection keeps going in and out. So I'm kind of bummed, but I'm thinking that it probably, well, I don't know, is our official still here, or has she gone out?
Yeah, she's still here.
You're still here. I'm sorry, I can't think of your name. I'm sorry.
Laura. Her name is Laura.
Laura. Okay, so Laura, my home, I'm in Hillsborough, but I border right up against the Eno Park.
Uh-huh.
So is that area included in part of the Creek Week?
Yeah, we've had several events on the Eno already, and there's an Eno River cleanup this Saturday morning at 9. They're meeting at on Guest Road, 4404 Guest Road.
Okay.
Is the meeting place. You can find the details on the Creek Week website.
Awesome. Okay, I'll look into that. That's something that would be great for I have 5-year-old twins, so I think this would be a great thing to do with them.
Oh yeah, fun.
Yeah. All right.
And they would love finding some of those golf balls, basketballs, and soccer balls, wouldn't they?
I'm sure they would. That would be very exciting.
If you find them, you keep them, right? If you want.
Finders keepers.
Oh, sure. Yes. Or better yet, drop them off at the local school or rec center and see if they can use them.
There you go.
Nice. Thanks again, Laura. I'm not trying to rush you off. I just know that I don't want to get you in trouble.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure, and I hope everybody can find a Creek Week activity to join in.
Absolutely. That was Laura Webb Smith, Public Education Coordinator with the City of Durham's Department of Public Works in the area of stormwater services. So what I'm going to do now is to end the show by saying thank you for watching TV Skywriter. Patricia A. Murray, your host. Be sure to read the Durham Skywriter. That's Durham, North Carolina's online community paper. You can read it at durhamskywriter.com. I'll end the show now, and then we can kind of hang out.